Hello and welcome to Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club, where a community of film nerds just like myself gather to rate and review films of our choosing. Why? Because we love movies and we love talking about them with each other most of all. Joining me today is my co-host Luke Parker. Welcome, Luke.
Hey Chris, how we doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this one.
Very much looking forward to this one. Also joining us today is the composer and editor of the podcast, Stefan Krieger. Welcome, Steph.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Pleasure to have you. And of course, our returning favorite film club member, Hannah Tavares, is back. Hannah, welcome back.
Thank you. Lovely to see you guys. Sorry, I'm having a fit of giggles coming back.
Stefan with the most casual intro.
Welcome fits of giggles. Yes, thank you all for joining me to discuss today's movie, which was chosen by yourself, Luke. And that movie is the 1969 British film by Ken Loach, Kes.
The story centres on 15-year-old Billy Casper, a quiet and deeply marginalised boy growing up in a bleak Yorkshire coal mining town. Billy's existence is defined by neglect and hardship. He is virtually ignored by a single mother, routinely abused by his deeply resentful older brother Judd, and subjected to the casual cruelty of a draconian school system that has already written him off. With no academic interest and a looming dread over the inevitable fate of working the local mines, Billy seems destined for a life of quiet desperation. However, a solitary spark of hope ignites when Billy discovers a kestrel falcon nest in the ruins of a nearby monastery. Fascinated by the fiercely independent birds, he carefully takes a fledgling chick and decides to raise it, naming her Kes. Drawing knowledge from a stolen library book on falconry, Billy dedicates himself to training the bird. Through this painstaking and delicate process, a profound bond forms between the broken boy and his untamed predator. So, Kes, was this our first watch for everyone?
Yes.
Was for me. Yeah,
I'm just curious about Stefan
and
Chris, because this one is obviously it's a bit of a British classic and is one that's quite regularly played in schools. I don't know if you guys studied the book in school, Kestrel for a Knave.
No.
Never did. I knew of the movie. Just like how if you know of Ken Loach, you always know about Kes and Ken Loach go hand in hand. You know, you always hear about the film. But I watched it with Carrie Ann, and she told me that she had watched it in her education. I don't know if it was school or if it was university. She said it was one of those. Yeah.
Interesting.
And what about you, Hannah?
No, I mean, both, to my knowledge, the director and the film itself were brand new to me. And I knew it was a good pick anyways because of how you guys pick for the podcast. But it came up on a special streaming service that I have through our library called Canopy with a K. And it's
I've heard of it.
It's of quality. I feel like that's all they put on there.
I've not heard of
first
that.
time.
Is that like, does it specialize in more like indie art house movies? Is it similar to like Mubi or?
Sort of. It does. It does a range. I don't know how they choose there, but they also show like short films, which I feel like after your film circuit, like film festival circuits, you can't really get your hands on that, and it carries that as well. I can do a little deep dive and share it up with you guys afterwards because I hope it's available to you out there.
Sounds cool.
That's great. I mean, if it has Kes on it, it's fucking good then, right? Yeah, because in the UK it's not on anything. So
you're joking.
Yeah, even as a British
how did you watch it?
I just rented it from Amazon.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. And it's not like free on any like streaming.
Yeah, it's not like on which you would expect it would be on BFI or something like that.
Sure.
But Luke, you chose the movie, so tell us about your relationship with it. It's not the first time you've seen it, is it?
It's not. So the first time I watched it was actually about a year ago. So pretty recent, and I rewatched it again yesterday. I mean, the reason I chose it is because I don't think we've really done a film like this yet. Not even in this film club or our old film club, really. Ken Loach is a filmmaker. I mean, so Hannah, did you say you haven't even heard of Ken Loach?
No.
So he's a big name in British cinema, especially around like socialist cinema. All his films, or I've only seen a couple of them, but I've read quite a bit about him. Like all his films have these quite strong, like socialist undertones and themes. And Kes, I think, was his first proper feature film. Yeah, I just wanted to choose it because I thought not only did I love it, but I think it's just a really endlessly fascinating film. I think it's really delicate. I think it's saying so much in such an interesting way. So I think it was a good choice just to kind of wrap our heads around together, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick because exactly like you said, there's so much to talk about. I mean, to be honest, this could be one of those films that we could do like a live commentary of as you're watching it, you know, throughout the whole movie, because there's always something to pick out.
Yeah.
So then, Hannah, yeah, you hadn't heard of it, you hadn't seen it before. When I was watching it with Carrie Ann, I was like, oh boy, how's Hannah going to do this one? Because
I'm
for
assuming
the
you watched
first,
it with subtitles.
oh my god, yeah.
Oh, honestly, I did, but the subtitles were far more confusing to me. I love the variety of accents in your nation. So it was easier without the captions afterwards.
Really?
Oh wow.
I mean, this isn't just a different accent. This is a whole complete dialect that's
true.
You're joking.
Really almost indecipherable, I think.
And
really?
and kind of lost now too. I mean, they don't
Lost,
talk like this anymore. Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Wow. So well done.
Okay. I mean, I kept the captions on throughout anyways, because even in English, my version of English, I always have captions on. I feel like I'm missing, like,
Me too.
Sometimes it'll just be something in pop culture. I was like, is that an author? Is that a place? Is it whatever it is? And the captions really save my butt. But also, okay, so I guess added value to hearing this dialect, which you're saying doesn't get shown much or doesn't exist nowadays.
Jeez, I mean, the dialect's probably still there, but even their language and the accent and even some of the words, like they said, it felt almost Old English at times, like Shakespearean.
It really did. Yeah. How did you get on with that, Stefan?
Did you? Yeah, I had no idea what the film was about. I was just kind of watching the I didn't know what anyone was saying, you know. So I downloaded it, and usually it comes with a subtitle file, but this one didn't have a subtitle file.
Oh no!
And yes, I could go back onto the laptop and search for it in a deep dive, and then put it back in there, and then watch it with the subtitles. But I thought, you know what? No, I'm gonna learn this language. And then I think it was like the first.
I'm gonna learn the language.
So I think 20 minutes in, my ears started to adjust, and I started to understand more compared to whatever I was hearing at the beginning. Because I thought it was a volume issue. Then I turn it up, and I'm like, nope, still not understanding a word they're saying. But you get used to it. So I can
imagine that being. Yeah, I totally get that, because I can definitely see how like you could become accustomed to it as the film goes on, for sure.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. The first 5 minutes, I was like, ooh, oh no, I don't know if I can watch 2 hours of this. But yeah, within 20 minutes, boom, I just naturally and it was like sharing, like between me visually watching it, checking in with the subtitles. Yeah, it was like a back and forth thing. Yeah. So yeah, Hannah, how did this sort of overall, how did it land for you?
Wow. I mean, I'm hearing all of what you're saying about how you adjusted to the language, and I'm recognizing that so much of the performances and the spaces are quite naturalistic. And I think just having something seemingly, and I don't know what the process was for filming, especially with a variety of young, like the cast is so young, but everything just seemed like, even if I didn't catch a term, what I'm seeing is so nakedly expressed that I feel like even in the tensions between Casper and his brother, or his mother and his older brother, I knew that beat. I knew that heartbeat or that tension. So even if something might be lost sort of in the translation, the visual that came through.
Oh, that's lovely.
It was a really strong experience. I had never heard of the book it was based on. I think that was the first and only thing I looked at before diving in, and I carved out some time to just watch this in the evening and just let it settle and ingest it beforehand, or afterwards. But I really enjoyed this experience. It struck me quite differently, and it feels a little bit harder than some of the other films that we've watched recently too.
Yeah, I was honestly, like you said earlier, Luke, of all the films that we've watched in a film club to discuss, the closest this has felt is to what's the Denis Villeneuve one?
Right. What'd you guys
No,
do?
the one that was the French Canadian one, and
Incendies.
Incendies.
Yes.
Yeah,
The Mother's Day
you know,
film.
Yeah. God, coming out of a pool and just seeing the heel. Oh, it's heavy. It's heavy like that. Really powerful. I love the way you put that, Hannah. As fascinating as an American watching this heavily dialected movie, just for you to say the clarity of the filmmaking and the performances just overrode that for you. That's great.
So the film was pretty much completely naturalistic. These weren't actors, right? These were people that Ken Loach literally plucked off the street to play these roles, and the kids were all just classes of actual kids.
How?
None of them were actors or anything like that. And you can, I feel like you can tell in the way that they, like, their lines are performed, especially with like a lot of the extra cast, so maybe not Billy and his family, but especially like the other kids in school, like you can really tell. And even though like you could say it's not great acting, it just makes it feel so authentic.
Yeah.
And that's really where the film excels.
You can tell. I turned to Carrie Ann at one point. I was like, this isn't scripted. There's no way this is scripted. And yet what I'm stunned by is he's in on close-ups. Like, he is setting up the camera he's framing it. There's a composition to it. There's lights. He's got editing in mind. How the fuck do you capture something so natural that is so clearly also directed in the way it's shot? If it was a wider shot that encompassed a bunch of people in the frame, then I can understand a lot of natural, realistic improvisation. But sometimes they're in on close-ups on people and you're like, oh my God, this isn't scripted. This feels so real. This astounds me. Yeah.
What about you, Stefan? What was your initial thoughts?
When it like first 15, maybe 10 minutes, I was like, oh God, this is a stinker. Luke's pulled out a stinker. And then I gave it a minute or two, and then I started really getting into it. I think this is when I started to get the language down better, which helped. And I think it's lovely. I think it's such a lovely film. The acting, in my head, I was like, this is either really bad acting, like they're bad actors, or that it's completely natural and these aren't actors at all. It's got to be one or the other. Because I don't even think an actor, like a good actor, can intentionally act like that. It's just too natural.
Right.
But I loved it. And when I started to get that whole naturalistic vibe, I'm like, you know what? You don't see that anymore. It's very rare you see this kind of naturalistic plucking people off the streets. I think, there was one scene which was a bit weird in the pacing, which was when he first goes to the shop that he goes to, and he like reads the newspaper, and that guy's like, oh, you're late or something. The dialogue between them right before he leaves, it was super like quick, like he was looking down at the desk and reading the shopkeeper, I mean, not the kid, and like replying too fast. And I was like, well, okay, so these are bad actors then. Cool. And then as we moved on, I was like, no, he's probably just he's just a guy reading some lines who's not used to it, and the pacing is a bit off. But then I don't think that happened that much after that. It was quite, I think I settled into the naturalistic vibe of the entire film. And the kids is even better, because when they say things, you're like, that's what a kid would say. Like they have no filter, and the way they'd say it, or it comes across, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I told you, Luke, already. I watched a Ken Loach movie for the first time just the other day, only a few weeks ago.
Oh, the old
The
oak, or the old oak, something like
Yeah,
that.
The Old Oak. And The Old Oak is, I think it's one of his newest films. It came out in like
Yeah.
2020 or something like that, 2023. And The Old Oak is about a pub. And anyway, I knew Ken Loach is this legendary director. I hadn't seen any of his films. And so I decided to watch The Old Oak, his latest film, to watch a Ken Loach movie. The fascinating thing is, The Old Oak is 2023, Kess is 1969, and you can so tell that both films are done by the same filmmaker, over 50 years apart. And I think that is remarkable. He is singular.
What kind of parallels were there?
You can tell just what you said about using professional and non-professional actors. He's still doing it. The Old Oak is filled with performances where you look at it and go, Jesus, is this person really bad? And then something clicks for you halfway and you go, oh my God, they're not actors. They're, he has this real sense of using, like you said, Luke, telling these socialist stories, but really living in a place and letting you soak up this very specific place and time and the community that fills that place. He's still doing it today. And so it was so nice to see that, oh, this is just his oeuvre. This is just what Loach does. And yeah, I thought that was fascinating. I thought the movie it's amazing in so many ways. I think it's tough to watch at times. I think anytime you're watching a child be abused, it's tough. But what I loved about the movie was how funny it is. It is so funny. I was laughing so much. And what I love about the humor of it is, I think it's intentional in that Loach knows what's happening. But what's funny is it's also completely unintentional because no one is forcing any comedy. These people are just being themselves. And by being themselves, sometimes the things they come out with, the things they say is fucking hilarious. I'm thinking about that football match and that teacher. I was dying. I was like, this is the most insufferable human being. But what's incredible about it is that it tells you everything about his character. All of a sudden, I was thinking about, who is this person? He's clearly a failed athlete. He clearly grew up wanting to be a big football player. That never happened for him. So this is how he needs to bring that out. And what's amazing about the film is
the power trip.
The power trip. And I love, what Loach does with actually putting the scorecards of Manchester United and Spurs at the bottom. It's a funny touch. But this is the kind of film where you go from laughing so much at that football game to, in an instant, then going, oh, this isn't funny anymore. There's nothing to laugh at now because this is just completely flipped into abuse. So the film has this real interesting tonal balancing act that I really appreciated. Really did.
So do you think it does that? Do you think it pulls off
I think so.
that balance?
I think so.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because of what we all said about this is just real. And that's what life is, right? Life, we go from laughing to crying in an instant because that's how quickly life can flip. People can flip. Yeah.
I think for me, this is the best piece of British cinema I've ever seen. I think you've compared it to Incendies with how the film kind of made you feel, but the fact that it made you feel like that for something, Incendies is shocking. It's dramatically shocking, whereas Kes isn't. It's literally just
true.
a fly on the wall kind of movie, right? And that's kind of obviously where its tragedy lies, is you have this kid who's at odds with practically every aspect of his life, and he finds this one thing kind of to cling on to, but it's just so blatantly overlooked by everyone in his life, right? And then it's completely torn away from him at the end with like not real any care from anyone around him. And there's one scene in particular that I think is the most heartbreaking of the film, and it's not right at the end. It's one of my favorite scenes that I've ever seen in any film. We've just had the start of this movie. We've had an hour of just seeing this shy, broken boy who's literally beaten and abused and is just keeping his head down to stay out of trouble. And once he's found his bird and he's with his teacher in the classroom and he has to go and stand up in front of his class and find his voice and actually, you know, he's explaining everything and the ins and outs of how he trained this bird, and everyone's actually there listening to him. And it's like, I just think it's such a powerful moment in the film, and I think it's that scene alone that then literally makes the ending as soul crushing as it is.
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's a standout scene. It's incredible. And as well, that relationship he has with his teacher, that particular teacher, is fascinating, because I think the teacher writes him off just like everyone else does initially. And then it feels like the teacher can't help but be interested in this kid, even subconsciously. And the fact that, he gives him the space and forces him to. And yet you see everyone in the class just completely immersed in this story. And he comes alive, this kid. Yeah, he comes alive. He's excited. And the way he's explaining it is brilliant. You know, this kid could be a writer. The level of suspense he has, and when he's demonstrating how he's holding the meat out, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
And, you know, like the whole film is kind of told through vignettes, I'd say, of like what it's like to live within this time and space. You know, some of the standouts are like when all those kids are going to the headmaster's office, and it's just perfectly encapsulates like how brutal kind of the education system was at this time, when they're all getting the cane for practically no reason. There's that moment, and also when he's going to the careers officer at the end, and it's like, what's the point? This feels like this kid, no matter what he does, he's just destined for basically nothing. Because this was like a really important time in English history. We had like educational reforms. So kind of before this period, the whole education system was like ran at like a county level. So like different sub regions would kind of organize and be responsible for their own county's education and schools and curriculums, that kind of thing, and how kids are disciplined, everything like that. And then over the time this film was released, and like throughout the early 70s, that's when it was kind of reformed into maybe the education system that we're more familiar with today, where it's like nationalized basically. So it comes at quite a pivotal time in that respect.
Yeah, and even the jobs, right? Is it the coal mines where they're working, which feels like that's pretty much the only option for most of the young men. It just speaks to a really specific time and place. That scene. Shall we just not do credits and just talk about this fucking movie? Because
I mean, the credits going to be pretty empty anyway, because they're not actors, most of them.
Yeah. That scene where the kids get caned, and then we have the close-up of the last kid, the tiny kid, the kid that was just showing up to deliver a message from Miss, we never get her name, and, you know, they rope him into holding their cigarettes, and, you know, this movie's...
He has no voice. He literally has no voice.
He's got no voice.
He keeps trying to speak up.
He's
in this tiny voice, and he's just shut down.
And he's lumped in with them.
Instantly.
Yeah. And even the way they take the cane, it's incredible, man. I don't know how they did this, because let's say I'm directing the scene or I'm one of the actors and you do the cane. Naturally, the first thing you'd think would be like, fuck, oh. None of that. This is their daily life. So it's just, and then move on. This is how frequently they get the cane. And you only see how it affects them with the lingering pain afterwards when they're trying to rub their palms against themselves with the friction and the reaction of
And
the
the tears
last
start coming.
kid. The tears in his eyes. In a close-up, guys, I was like, how? Because this kid wants to cry. This is not an actor trying to convey emotion. He wants to cry. Did they actually cane him? I don't know. How do we get this? I was stunned by it. Yeah.
I think we definitely did. I quickly did a read about that scene, and it said that they like gave them a couple pounds, each one of those kids, to get actually caned for that scene. So they got like, I don't know how much, like a week's or a month's worth of an allowance or something worth, to film that scene. And I was like, what is going on? It's phenomenal. Also, because I was like, Steven Spielberg is normally known as, you know, the director who works with a lot of kids, but they are child actors. And this really brought a completely like a quality to performances that you can't anticipate. I feel like it's just about, you create the environment, you set up your shot, and you trust. I feel like that's one thing that really comes across, at least, is like all whatever attempts and failures that they had on that set, but making that decision is quite interesting too. I know, at least in the United States in the 70s, funding could be a bit more free and flowing. We had some really outrageous films and scripts that I think would have a very difficult time finding any funders nowadays. And I wonder what it was like then. But the decision to continue using, or like having non-actors in it, I wonder how that would feel now if somebody did try to use actors, and there's a quality to using non-actors that I don't know if it makes it hit harder or not, but the story, to know that potentially these are kids that's, like you said, they've gotten caned all the time. That's their day in, day out.
Right.
But that was very interesting.
Yeah, and
that's what I learned.
I feel like the film continually does that, right? Where it doesn't tell you what their relationships are to each other. You just pick it up from the way they interact with each other. I feel like that is, how do you even write that? Was it written? I'm stunned by it. I really want to know the process, because let's take, what's the kid's name? Billy
Casper.
Oh, Billy Casper. Let's take his relationship with his brother Judd. That's a rough one. Judd. Yeah, that's a really rough one. And you know, one of the most revealing things is when Judd comes home from a night out. Also, I love the fact that their night out is in like a village hall, and where the mum goes out, is also where the youngsters go. There's nowhere else. So I love that detail. And I love the fucking Lee Evans performer who's just doing his joke song. And
I thought that as well. Yeah.
And cracking.
I'm so glad they included that scene, because they so easily couldn't have done.
So good.
That was another scene that I just felt was so important, of like capturing the essence of the time and the condition. It was a bold choice, because like it literally adds, you could argue that it literally adds nothing really to like where the film goes, but I think in terms of like fleshing out this place and these people, I'm so glad that they decided to include it.
I think it adds everything. Yeah, just to see, there are moments of levity here. These people are poor, they have a hard life, but they can laugh every now and then with something as simple as this performer. Maybe he's there every Friday or Saturday night, and they can't wait for it. Yeah, incredible. And when Judd comes home drunk, and the way he viciously shakes Casper to wake him up, to help him take his trousers off, and Casper gets up, and when he does it, it's like, oh my God, this is a routine. This is such a routine. How many endless times has the kid done this? He's done it enough to know that as soon as Judd lies down on the bed, he can, in his face, just express everything he feels about him, because the guy is too drunk and he's passed out to know any better.
You pig. You bastard.
You Sal.
You pig bastard.
Yes, you drunken bastard. It's just this moment of release for him. And then again, it's funny. Then he goes too far and actually physically punches him, and that wakes Judd up. He's like, oh, he needs to run out the room. But yeah, it's...
Every moment we're in the house with Judd and his mum, I almost feel scared for him because it feels claustrophobic, and I almost, throughout the film, got this sense of relief every moment we saw him out in the green, running around with this bird. That's so important to like what the film's trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, you understand the mum's whole relationship with Judd and Casper, but with Judd, she fears him. She fears her own son. She's not ashamed to let him know, I'm your mother, and you're fucking driving me up the wall here. I can't stand being here. But she would never raise a hand to him. And that was never more evident than at the end when, Judd's done what he's done. When Casper runs to his mum and says, fucking do him in, go and sort him out, knock his head in. And she turns to Casper like she's ready to beat him. Like, don't you dare put me in that position. It's just like, oh my word. It's so lived in. It's so lived in that it's almost hard for me to process as an actor. I'm watching this and going, I genuinely don't know, unless you are all an actual family, how did you get there? I was thinking Ken Loach very much reminds me of another English film director, Mike Leigh. And we've seen a few...
Oh, fair, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In his
100%.
His laser focus on just observing people. And what I love about Ken Loach is I don't feel like Ken Loach judges any of them. Even people like Judd, there's no judgment. He's just pointing and shooting and just showing you who this person is, and that's it.
It's like Ken Loach, he understands these characters. They're purely products of their environment that they're in, and that's kind of what Ken Loach is trying to shit on, is like the institutionalization of everything going around him, from the industry to the schools, right? It's completely ripping out all the individuality of these people, and that's kind of, I guess, what Ken Loach is trying to get at, I think. It's purely looking at these people of products of these changes that are happening in this small mining town in the northeast of England.
You're hitting on... I didn't know until you guys opened it up and said that he's like a socialist filmmaker. But Luke, what you're just reflecting back really hits, because when I think of the scene that you mentioned earlier, when Casper is telling the story of how he trained Kes, I felt all those things that you guys shared too about that scene, but I also kept feeling what a stark way to show how they're shaped by, or how they're judged by a system that values them as pieces in a machine. I don't think any of those characters are given, any room for proving themselves in any way. Exactly, like you come from a family, you have that last name, your value has already been measured out for you. So your paths forward are narrow and they can't imagine anything other than what they have been told they're worth. So I feel like that struck a lot through all of it. That no one values that kid. He does what he can with where he's placed, and they all are too. I feel like even when the boys gang up on each other, either they're ribbing at each other or just fighting out on the fields or commiserating that their coach is honestly just a psycho dick bag with an old ego from childhood he has that's still bruised. It's such a wonderful, stark way to like look at and point out the things that perhaps don't work when your society values you in a certain way, or how they tell you we have to value you for you to mean anything. In that moment when he's talking about training Kess, they're like, oh, this kid, oh, okay, we didn't think there was fucking anything to this kid, he's just a sack of old potatoes. But to recognize that they have more depth, and it's like I'm like, oh great, they see he has value, but also just sad that that's what we have to be. We have to produce something. Like you have to go into the coal mines and you have to do your due time, and then we make space for you here in this small town. Otherwise we don't have a place for you, and you should kind of go to the woods and die because you're like, a burden.
And it's like this film doesn't follow a traditional narrative flow with these characters, in that once he's gotten up at the front of the class and he tells this whole story about his pet, everyone's riveted.
He's not a pet.
Think he's not a pet. Sorry, not a pet.
Yeah.
He's made that very clear. You'd think that he would be treated with a bit more respect, but instead he's walking in the playground and he immediately gets into a fist fight out of nowhere, out of nothing. And it's like, hang on a minute. This isn't how we are trained when we're watching movies for this to go. Usually we have character arcs, so we've broken forward, right?
These days we'd expect him to walk out the classroom and all the other kids going, oh my god, that's the boy with the
hawk. Yes, exactly. But even then there's something just so remarkable about, for instance, after the football match and the coach has trapped him in the shower and has deliberately turned the temperature down. That's abuse, right? And it's what I love is that sense of the environment, how cold it is, and what I love is he climbs out of the shower room through that opening. And when he does, the rest of the boys' locker room cheers when he does that. That's incredible. Those are the same boys who were taunting him no more than a few minutes ago. They're the same boys that will continue to taunt him in the very next moment. But in that moment, they're all together against the coach. And it's those kinds of honest observations about human behavior that I just think is class. You don't get that in a manufactured script or a story. You know what I mean? Scripts are there's too much layer
Polished.
of fantasy to it. It's too manufactured. It's too engineered. This just seemed like life happening in front of your eyes in a movie that is not a documentary. But basically might as well be, Yeah, incredible.
It's the same with the scene right before they go to the principal's office, a headmaster's office, whatever, to get caned. When the boy comes with the message and then they coerce him into coming in with just to take the cigarettes. What's his name? The main character?
Casper? Billy Casper.
Billy Casper. He's like, yes, these are the boys that also take the mick out of him as well, but because they're all in it together, he's the one he grabs like the small kid and kind of headlocks him, as in like, you're going to do this, because that's one moment where he switches, and then you don't see that type of version from him for the rest of the film or before, but it's just in that moment, like that's just how it's going to happen in order for them to get through what they need to get through, you know?
I'm so glad you reminded me of that. Yes, that's the pecking order. You're smaller than me, you're younger than me. This is just how the world works. Yes, I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Hannah, I like what you were saying about how he's so not valued and is basically invisible. So with these feelings then, or in this situation, why do you guys think he's clung on to this bird? Like, I know there's the scene with the teacher where he's talking about, it's not a pet. He likes being how the bird lets him watch it, basically. Why do you think he's clung on to this process of teaching the bird and keeping this bird?
It's a great question, Luke, because I never gave it any thought. It never really entered my mind as to why. But as we're talking, it's something that you actually mentioned earlier when you spoke about him being free in the field. I think it being a bird, especially something that the bird represents, right, which is freedom, which is you can spread your wings and fly and just leave this place. I think there's a part of him that wishes he could do that wishes he was this kestrel, this hawk, and that he could just escape. And I think it touches to something much more deeper, like psychologically more complex, that it's almost like if I can tame this creature, then I can be this creature, meaning I can leave if I want to. I can fly away, but I'm going to control that emotion. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to stay for my family, I'm stronger than that. It felt like I might be way off here, but
No,
it
I think
felt
that's
to me
totally valid.
Really,
Totally, yeah. Although I would maybe play devil's advocate a bit, and like, on the contrary, it's a little bit interesting to think about how we've just sat here and kind of like criticized how Billy is now subject to to everything, all these horrible things, all these things being imposed on him in his life. So he's now trapped within this tiny town with the kind of the shadow of what his family's like behind him and everything like that. But now he's found this bird and he's now kind of imposing his own rules and that onto this bird. So this bird is now trapped.
Yeah,
I was thinking the
stolen,
same thing.
right? Like taken right from the nest.
Yeah,
literally. Yeah,
but it's the same thing as I think one of you said earlier. Like the small kid in the headmaster's office, he has no voice. They're not letting him speak. Same with Casper. I'm so bad with names. Casper. He the one moment he's kind of allowed to speak freely and people actually listen is when he has that moment in class. But this bird is also not going to say anything back to him, is he? The bird can't speak, so he. In a flip side, it could be both hand in hand, or it could be one or the other. But you're taking this thing who has no voice, kind of making it. You're not. Yes, he said he's scared that it's going to fly away. That's what he said in class. I was scared to let it go 70 meters so that he could fly to me, without the wire, without the cable. So he built up the courage to do that. But maybe beforehand, when it was with having the wire around it and then putting it in the shed and then taking it out the shed and having the wire, that's more like taming it. You're not giving the bird a choice, are you?
These are
so the bird is now kind of become reliant on Billy's kind of provision of food and the structure Billy's provided. And then you could all like, does that kind of, I mean, this might be a stretch, guys, but does that almost like parallel how Billy sits in this kind of working class, underprivileged sect of society where he kind of, as much as he'd want to escape, it's kind of like he's stuck, or like he wouldn't escape because he's like feeling comfortable here and he doesn't know any different.
You posed some really good questions. To the one right before that, hearing all three of you share your views on Casper training, Cass, the taking from the nest, everything can be, I feel like I'm of two minds because I hadn't thought of it necessarily in that way that he's trapping something wild and free to control it. But that is very clear to understand that interpretation of it. Because I guess originally when I think of the scene where he's describing to his professor that he's like, it's not a pet. He just feels privileged to be able that Kess lets him just stare at it and see how beautiful and strong and wild this thing is, and that he's like,
Yeah.
you can't really like contain it,
Right.
but it's still like a wild thing. But to switch to the view that you guys expressed makes me quite devastated to imagine that if it is a parallel of Casper and everybody in that time and in that like mechanism of society and school and classism, it feels sad that if the moment you could go for your freedom, the really only true freedom you have outside of that system is death. If his brother, because I mean, knowing that the intention, at least I think what I read afterwards was about the book, that Judd is just trying to release it so he loses something that has been trained to him. And the fact that it keeps coming back to attack Judd and then he kills it. I don't know. There's so many layers and threads there that I will continue to keep thinking about even after this conversation, because I feel like it's against my will and I don't want to accept the version that the freedom is in death only outside of these systems.
Right.
But it's deeply moving, all of it to consider.
I completely forgot about that line, right? When Judd is like, "Oh, the bird kept trying to come back, but it was and hurting me, so I had to kill it." Like,
yes,
I feel like there is so much in that that I hadn't really thought about.
It's crazy because it's kind of a throwaway line in the midst of all this emotional chaos that's happening in that moment. Yeah, but that quick justification from Judd about why the thing's dead. Yeah,
Did you guys? Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No.
When I felt such a fear going into the movie, like once he had found and started training Kess, like, you know how his brother forces him to tell him where he found Kess? And that moment, I was like, he's gonna kill it. I thought he was gonna purposefully hunt for it later in the film. There's just this like inherent distrust in Judd and his motivations and how perhaps he's been so twisted by what he can and cannot have. He cannot have the freedom until his mother dies to even own the house he mentions. All of these things that pile up. But as soon as Billy tells him where, I was just like, oh, they're doomed. The two of them are doomed. Like,
that's
Billy and
so
Tess.
interesting, because that's so interesting that you thought of that, Hannah, in that moment. Yeah, because I didn't. And it was only when, we knew Judd was looking for Billy. And then Billy, is ducking him. He's hiding from him. And then he goes to get his bird and the bird's not there. Only then did the penny drop for me. And I was like, only then did it feel like this was inevitable from Judd, the whole movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so sad. Because he also, I guess, because like what lures him or what kicks Judd off is the fact that Casper thinks he's doing something smart and asking, what are the chances for these horses that he's put a bet on? Yeah. And then he was like, well, he's going to lose anyway, so we're going to save this. And then he gets the meat for free afterwards. So many things are happening that are not what's expected. And then I kept thinking of zooming out. I was like, Judd is so angry because he lost out on this opportunity for financial gain. And the fact that he lost out on that, the way to take it out on his brother, the one who led him to losing, is take away the thing that makes him happy. It makes me politically think of, you don't let people see that the problem is that there's a higher class. Right. They pit all of you against each other in the same class. So you can't dream. You don't look up. You don't see more. And it's so sad.
Yeah. And it's I couldn't believe when sometimes you have to rewire your brain, right? We're in the year 2026 and this came out in 1969. So let's say it was filmed in 1968. But when was it set? Was it current day? Yeah. And when Billy goes to the bookkeepers and says, would he have won? How much did he lose? And the bookkeeper tells him he's lost a good tenner, right? So £10, right? He lost out on £10. And your 2026 brain, you watch that and you go, that's fucking nothing. That's nothing. These days you'd be happy to have that fall out of your pocket. It doesn't even really, all things considered. And then when Judd is shouting to his mum about what Billy did and how that £10 was, doesn't he say that it's at least 2 weeks' wages?
Yeah, something like
A
that.
week's word.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I forget. I have to forget that I'm watching a period piece, how much a tenner is. And I'm like, right, okay, so this is a big deal. Yeah. For people who don't have much.
Yeah.
For people who have nothing, that's a big deal. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, he would have won a tenner. I was like, Judd, what the fuck are you pissed off about?
I feel like all the teachers in. Did you want to finish a thought there, Chris?
No. Please, go ahead.
All the teachers in this film are like so miserable, and like they just let the smallest things get to them, and they get so aggressive and angry. And I'm like, half of this film was just going, this is a movie about just how to piss off your teachers in the fastest way possible, and doing the most minute things.
It's so true, because I actually had to laugh when he walked into the recruitment office and the shot is from halfway down the hall. He just walks in, it's like,
get shouted at.
Get out, not come back in. I had to laugh because you just can't do anything right as a kid in this.
And all things considered, Casper's actually really polite, because at the end of every sentence it's sir, sir,
Yeah, but he's away with the fairies most of the time. I just feel so sad for him because he's so fucking honest. Casper, were you listening to me? Did you hear any of what was just said? Some of it, sir. Some of it.
But like the saddest thing is that like he has no voice, because you think about how in that career interview, like he's asked what are your hobbies, what do you want to do, and it's hard to really understand why, but he doesn't mention anything about his bird or anything. It's almost like he's ashamed or embarrassed, or like he doesn't think anyone will care because he's just been so invisible to everyone and everything.
Well, he said it to the entire class and still ended up getting beaten for it. So it's like,
Yeah, true.
What's going to change now?
It wouldn't even translate to money, though, would it? Back then, like, he's like, why are you going to share it? They're going to be like, they're clearly trying to shape me into a skill that I can sell, and I can't sell that.
2 weeks ago, I was in Italy with Carrie-Anne, and we were walking in Sicily, Palermo, in this beautiful city, and we walked to this real touristy area, and there was a guy standing there with a hawk on his shoulder. And we were like, has that guy got a fucking hawk on his shoulder? And of course, he's standing there for a reason, right? People are coming up to him, approaching him, and he's asking for money. And then maybe he'll give you an explanation of why he's got the hawk on his shoulder. So it's an attraction. And in this movie, there's a point where he's walking down the street in the town with this hawk on his arm, and no one seems too bothered, except for one guy who stops. He's quite interested. He's like, oh, very well. How is this? How does this work then? Why have you got the glove there, sir? And it's like...
But he sounds like he hasn't got many issues in his life. He sounds like he has a pretty decent job. He gets paid more so than he's dressed in a certain way as well. Everyone else is too worried about, I guess, earning the next shilling or whatever.
Exactly. And that's the thing. He's walking down the street with this bird and no one's batting an eye except those who are just mildly curious. But you're so right. I didn't think about that. He seems so well off in terms of the way he's clothed and his accent and his posture and all of that. Yeah. It's just, does nothing impress these people? This kid has no chance. But we've spoken about that final moment when he finds out that the bird is dead. Spoiler alert, but this is 1969, so I'm assuming anyone who listens to this who hasn't seen it is...
Edit that in post. The spoiler.
It's just going to be a bleep when they find out.
Yeah. But I was actually blown away by Billy's... it's like Billy has told himself what the truth is. He's run everywhere looking for the bird and he can't find it. And he knows Judd has not only had something to do with its disappearance, no, Judd's killed it. Mm. And he's telling his mum this, he's confronting Judd about this, and he's upset, but he's keeping it together. It's only when Judd admits it, when he says the words, yeah, I killed it. That reaction from Billy, the cry, the throwing himself to the couch, that his heart is broken. I have never seen someone's heart break on camera in such a raw, visceral way from someone who is not a professional performer. Guys, how do you get there? This is not an actor. So how do you prep that moment?
Having a good director, I guess.
Yeah, but oh, go on. Oh! Did you read up about it?
Yeah.
Oh, go. Oh, please.
So
it's going to be something brutal, isn't it? Like they actually killed his pet bird or something.
Right behind the camera, they just killed his cat.
Yeah.
Those are close. So the actor who plays Billy did help actually train some kestrels with a pro on set. And I think it was the day of that scene before, they did tell him, they said, we're actually gonna have to kill one of the three. And he was absolutely devastated. Only afterwards, after getting the shot, it's actually not one of the three. They did not kill the bird. They found one dead of natural causes. But that's what they did. And I was just like, I feel like today they'd be like, that was child abuse on set. But
so they tricked the kid into thinking that was one of the birds he trained?
Yes. Yeah. And they said that he was so, not indignant, he was so angry about it and saying, you can't do that. Like, why would you have me train them to know that you're going to kill it? And then, yeah, it just adds a lot to it.
I'd stick with that story too if I was the filmmakers. Doesn't this sound a bit like they just found one of natural causes? How do you find a freaking falcon that died of natural causes? And it's still so fresh when he's got it in his hands, like they found it last night,
So I know. That's exactly why I Googled it right after. I was like, did they kill one on purpose? But also
I don't know how much I believe that.
I know. I'm also quite skeptical of that, but it's so devastating. I was sobbing so much at the end of this movie that I was like, please tell me they didn't also kill something.
I mean, that final shot is brutal, right? Of just, it goes all quiet and it's just Billy there digging a hole in the ground.
He gives it dignity. He cares. It's so much to go through the bins, and then he's opening her wings to look for like markings. Like, is it really her? Maybe there's a chance it's not her. Like, all of that is so special. All those moments after.
It's so special, Hannah. You're right. That's the word. It's so special. And this movie probably doesn't have in its end credits, no animals were harmed in the making.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I didn't see those credits.
Maybe that's why we have it today. So I'm starting to get an idea here of why we don't get performances like this these days. And that's because the era of the 60s and the 70s was the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And I think, anything goes. And you hear about the way Kubrick treated his actors, especially his female actors. You hear about Last Tango in Paris, that film with Marlon Brando, and how they actually had him rape his co-star. And that's the scene, and it's a powerful scene, and for a fucking reason, because the woman is genuinely terrified.
The more you know. I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
Yeah. So it's right. So this is why we don't get this anymore. I can't say I agree with it, with actually beating kids and traumatizing them for the sake of a fantastic movie and fantastic performance. But my word, is it so effective? It's so effective, and without knowing all of that, wow. So I'm so glad you told me that, Hannah, just to think about, because I was dumbfounded. I was so confused as to how you could get there. And it's all manipulation, and it's all, and it's, wow. That's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Am I
it's true.
wrong in thinking, correct me, but towards the end of the film, when I'm not sure if this is, I think this is between him coming home, asking if his brother and mother are there, and they're not, so he runs out and he's asking where his brother is around town. But does he go to the house where he found the falcon, but he doesn't go into the field? He looks from a distance in the trees, and then he just turns back.
Yeah,
like the abandoned monastery, like ruins. Yeah.
What was I just found it interesting how you don't, because in my head I was like, he knows it's dead, maybe he's going to go get another one, because there were more in the nest. So, but then we don't address it again. So I'm curious what that was.
Well, he doesn't know it's dead, though, does he? Like he's suspecting it strongly, but he's obviously hoping otherwise.
Or I thought he was going to do more than just stare at it. That he was going to climb back up to see if it had even returned to its nest.
But if that's the case, if it's one, he has a feeling it's dead, not bothering, or two, maybe it's flown back home, why not follow through with that? Why do we just end with him looking at it and then cut to back at the house?
That's interesting.
Well, so I'm confused. What do you mean? So
just the point. What's the point in having that shot of him looking at the house and then
without actually
following through,
going all the way?
Yeah, going in,
I don't know.
Yeah, would it be like if Kes had chosen to go back to the nest where they came from, he'd be like, well, Kes made a choice. Like, I had trained her in one way, but if she chose outside of the training, who was he to fuck with that? But also, that would have been the happier ending if it was. But I don't think he believed that that's what had happened.
Yeah.
I think without that scene if you just remove that of him seeing the place and then in the trees and then walking back, remove that, nothing changes.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. I'm so curious as to know how much more is in the novel, which came out the year before, 1968. It's called A Kestrel for a Knave, written by Barry Hines. And also going back to the question we asked earlier about why the Kestrel? Why not a dog or a cat? Why the Kestrel? I am curious as to if the novel really tells you why, where the movie just doesn't get that across, put that across even, Yeah, I do wonder. That's a good point, Steph. I didn't even think about that.
Doesn't the fact that when we think of freedom, sometimes we think of things like flying, not being tethered to the ground in such a literal way. It can be that expression.
Yeah, that's where my mind's going for sure. Yeah, totally.
But don't we see this bird tethered to Billy for most of the movie?
And that's the thing, that's the juxtaposition. That's the thing. That's the psychological part of Billy's character that I'd love to know more about. At the same time, I kind of don't, because that's what this movie does best, right? It doesn't give you the answers. It just presents it and then, asks you to figure it out from there. I love that. I also, guys, really, I loved the scenes of him training the Kestrel. I was like, to Carrie Ann, I was like, oh, no CGI. You know, this is actually him doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I mean, last year, you know, or even this year, an independent film came out with Claire Danes called H is for Hawk. You know,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
did you see it, Hannah?
No, I have the book.
Yes.
That it's based on.
Did anybody see it?
Yeah. But I
No,
want to, yeah.
I
If you
did.
guys end up watching it.
Yeah, I want to.
This is what the
We
film
don't
reminded me of. Reminded me of H's.
Yes. Yeah. We don't do pairings in film club, but I was thinking in our regular podcast episodes, I was thinking I'd pair this with H is for Hawk, even though I haven't seen it. But
Yeah, it's actually really fascinating because when I watched it, you actually learn. So I think it's it's a hawk,
you've
right?
seen it.
When you're watching the film, you actually learn so much about how they're trained and the things that she has to do to earn its trust. And there's like it's very slow and gradual, but it's very interesting. So when I saw the kid in this film, I'm like, that's real. He had to train. He had to. The bird had to trust him. He trained. He was there, one of people training them, so that he knows what to do. There's no way that's just like, oh yeah, just kid, you're going to do this, and there's a bird. You know, there's a relationship there between the three or however many birds they use.
Yeah. And H is for Hawk. Is that hawk real?
Real, yeah. Yeah.
I wonder.
I think it's not even when he's training them, right? Like, I think the standout bit is where his teacher comes and watches him with it, right? And he's there in the field, and he's not training that bird. That bird is fully trained, and he's so elegant in his movements, and like seeing this kid, he's practically mastered this craft, or at least to like the naive eye, like me. Like, it looks like this kid knows exactly what he's doing. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And again, the relationship. Sorry, Hannah.
I always do this to you, Chris. Go.
No. I was just going to say the relationship with that teacher is, you know, I kind of wish it was elaborated on a bit more. I can only hope when the cuts to black and we see the credits that teacher will continue to be there for Billy. But it's wonderful that he takes the time out to go and see him, have an actual conversation with the kid. He's the only adult we see do that. And I have to say, I was fucking fist pumping when, after his fight in the playground, the teacher turns to that kid and says, do you want to know something about bullying? You know, when you take on someone your own size or who can fight back. Oh my God, I was like, fucking yes, come on. That's my favorite character in the whole movie, that teacher.
Honestly, yeah. Even the scene when, remember what you were going to say, Hannah. I don't know if it's relating to this or not, but
Go.
even the scene where he gives him the opportunity to speak in front of the class. At first, because he got like angry because he wasn't listening in class. Were you even listening to me? Sometimes. And he's getting angry. I'm like, oh, he's just another teacher who's going to get angry and like send him to the office to get caned, you know? And then when he says no to talk more about it, and he gets him and come up to the front of the class, it's the small things like when he's talking about it and he's saying, and I did this with my arm, raise your arm so everyone can see, and then raising his arm, and then asking the class after he had said a bit, do you want to hear more? You know, because it's like, he's a very considerate teacher.
He's empowering him.
Yeah. And then also a small little detail as well is he's talking to him after the fight in the playground. He talks to the other kid and like pushes him up and saying, yeah, this is, you know, do you feel like this is, how do you feel being bullied? This is what bullying is. And then after they go, you hear the bell go. All the students have gone back into class. He's not talking to him because it's convenient and they're just outside in this break.
Right.
He's talking after the bell goes still because he cares.
That's a lovely detail. I didn't even think about that. That's so true. That's so true. And actually, in that moment, Billy comes pretty clean about the way his life is set up. No one cares about us. He's talking to a teacher and he goes, the teachers don't give a shit about us.
But he's comfortable to say that because he knows that the teacher he's talking to actually cares. It's not a passing conversation. He's asking because he genuinely cares. And this is why Billy's like, I feel that from you. Hence the reason I'm going to be honest with you.
Maybe. I was thinking maybe it's too early for him to know whether this teacher does that. Yeah, the teacher broke up a fight and had to go and got him to stand up in class, but he hasn't really. I didn't feel like that teacher did anything really exceptional towards Billy. He hasn't even offered yet to come and see Billy train with, you know what I mean, with the bird. So the fact that he opened up, yeah, maybe Steph, it was like it's some instinctual trust or something. But what he's saying could also get him caned. It could get him straight back to the principal's office. Maybe that's what I love about Billy, because the kid has no filter. He will just say what's on his mind. I love him.
I mean, bear in mind, this is the very first time in this entire movie that we've had an adult or even anyone talk to Billy not like he's a piece of shit on the bottom of their shoe. So like, it's just so apparent that that's all it takes to actually give this kid a voice and to actually hear him out. But that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
I feel like
what were you going to say, Hannah?
It could be. One of the things I was going to say was I had been reflecting during a conversation about Billy training Kess, and I guess I kept thinking of it in a one way, just unidirectional, where he is training Kess, but that building of trust and that adherence to applying himself to learning something completely foreign to him, having this like inkling of a desire and seeing it through for no one other than himself and Kess. It's this other thing too. I think it's almost like, I don't know if he'd recognize it at that time, at that age, that character, but showing yourself your own value and the value of showing up for yourself. I think I just said the same thing twice. But every time to go out into the fields, there's so much having to trust yourself at trying something completely new. And you would imagine, because it's so easy in that environment and the world he lives in, which feels like small, it's like a claustrophobic hot fishbowl, especially when I think of them all dancing in the same space, that it would be so easy to think of, I don't know, giving up on himself in trying to train it if things weren't moving along. But there's a steadfastness to him, and maybe that comes from curiosity, not just like some inherent like semi-political like seeking justice or something, or finding value in yourself. But that's one thing I was thinking. And when Stefan and you guys elaborated about the professor, I mean, think of that moment. He's calling Billy out for not paying attention to things, and he's surprised as well as everybody else that what Casper has to share is something unexpected. But it's that there can be those moments of stepping outside of a routine, or you think that you're going to call on this kid. Nothing of interest is going to come because you've already in your mind stated, what his place is and what his future holds. That when we do those things, is like mapping out of other people and ourselves and how we fit into things, it can be a trap that we lay for ourselves. In the moments where you allow for something to surprise you, but also dig deeper, ask him to engage. When we're truly engaging with each other as people, and we put away that quick judgment we may have, a world of possibilities opens where you can break out of systems and you can create something completely new. And I think it's just another testament to be curious, be vulnerable with each other, because there are things there that you don't have all the answers. You haven't imagined or dreamt every dream. And I think those things are so important. And I'm definitely really relying so much on my understanding and my personal views on socialism. And since you've tied it to the director, because there's so much there, especially when you're an ostracized person or your view. And I think in our big bad world of capitalism, socialism is definitely still like an easy shtick to be I don't know, prodded and poked at and ostracized for. So yeah, there are so many thoughts. And I love these conversations for these moments of hearing, because you guys each come with your own rich personal cultural like experiences. You guys are just these like wells and treasure troves of things. And I love when we're all watching the same thing, but what bubbles up to the surface and we choose to share. It's so exciting.
I just love that you said that, Hannah. And I'm always waiting for this moment from you, Hannah. I'm always waiting for it. And it always comes. So it's come an hour and 15 minutes into this, and you've blown my mind again because, yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you've said that. And it's true because he's literally gone round the room and he's asked this question already. And the most he's gotten is kids at an all-night rave party. You know, the neighbor called the cops on them. It's like there's literally nothing of any interest here. And when he hears what he's got to say, you're so right. You know, as human beings in a society, we all have preconceived notions. We all have bias on other people, subconscious sometimes. And it makes me think about, I don't know if I told you the story when I was at the airport. I got a call to a drunk guy who was offloaded from the aircraft, so he wasn't allowed to board because he was drunk, clearly. And me and my colleague, we went to meet him at the gate, and our job is to talk to him and say, okay, come with us now. We're going to take you out through immigration, through the baggage control, into arrivals, and then figure yourself out from there. But we have to escort you because you're drunk. You might fall down an escalator or stairs or in health and safety. So he's walking with us, and the guy I'm like, he's drunk. He's so drunk. He's like, he can't walk in a straight line. He's laughing to himself, laughing. What's funny? I don't know. And I'm like, fucking hell, the guy's had so much to drink. I'm not smelling any alcohol. Usually you can. But anyway, he's fucking drunk. And he's pissing me off now because it's taking so long. And we get into the immigration hall. Long queues in immigration. We're like, just sit there. We're going to get you some water. We give him water. He's not drinking it. And at one point he gets up and he just walks into the line halfway through. So he opens the barrier and he's walking through. And people are getting a bit nervous and a bit scared. And I'm like, stand back. It's okay. Just give him some room. Stand back. I'm like, come out. We're trying to he's not listening. Anyway, we were able to get his phone and we were able to contact his mum. He was from the US. I think he was from Texas. And we speak to his mum. We're like, your son's very drunk. He's been refused to fly by this airline. What's the next steps? Does he have money? Can he get himself a hotel? Blah, blah, blah. His mum tells us he's not drunk. No, he had a car accident, very severe car accident only a couple of years ago. He's got brain damage. And it's been that way for a while. We didn't even know he left the country. Where is he? London. And he was sitting down at this point, and as he's sitting down laughing to himself, he's got his head down. I looked at his scalp. He's got the biggest surgical scar running through the top of his head, and I was like, oh my God, I have completely misjudged this whole situation based on the amount of drunks I deal with on a daily basis. I just assumed this guy's whole story. And that's not the case. So anyway, there's just a small example to say, absolutely, Hannah, we could all benefit from the empathy and the curiosity that this character in this movie showed in that moment. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I think about it often, that I do. I try and use it as a lesson to myself.
But it's the thing, it's not even that you weren't paying attention, because that's quite a difficult thing to see or to try and to assume
Or to look for.
Yeah. One final thing I just have to say is, by the way, shall we just do this from now on? Shall we scrap the whole credits thing and just talk about the fucking movie? And if we want to talk about the directing or the writing or the composing or whatever, we'll do that, and then we can just dive into that a little bit. Yeah,
I
just
think
feels
so.
more free flowing. Yeah.
I think especially
Cool.
like when we did James Bond last time, I think I had a lot to say about the film, but like it didn't really fit into any of like
Oh, okay.
when we were
Okay.
listing off. So like maybe that would work
Okay.
better.
Maybe it's best
Cool.
like if you're curious about if it's the same, oh, did this person write this? Oh my god, this person wrote this as well. Look at it, before, and then if there's anyone of note that's really interesting, they got a great discography or something.
Sure.
Then we can be like, did you know the writer? As opposed to going through everyone,
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I really like this because this was good. One last thing I'll say as well is the mum I thought was absolutely fantastic, and she's only in 2 or 3 scenes. Her name's Lynn Perry. She died in 2006 at the age of 74. She wasn't even really an actress. She was part of a cabaret act. And her stage name was Little Miss Dynamite. And she performed all around Britain, France, Germany, and South Africa, and the States throughout the 60s. She regularly appeared as a support act for the Beatles. And she was on the same bill as the Rolling Stones. She performed 8 times at the Royal Albert Hall, which is my favorite venue here in London. Incredible. I thought she was
quite a different job then when she was doing this movie.
very different job, and yet he was able to bring out this incredibly charismatic performance. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the moment she was on screen, I was like, "Oh my god, who is this?" She's owning the camera right now. I thought she was a natural on camera. I loved her.
Yeah, do you know, I'm glad you already brought up the parallel to Mike Leigh, because her character reminded me so much of the main woman from Secrets and Lies. Even not just her, like the whole dynamic of this household, like this little working class household with like these fractured family relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I think surely Mike Leigh must have been like influenced really heavily by this early Ken Loach work. Must have been.
I love that. Oh, I love that. I could only imagine so, right? As peers, yeah, I could only imagine. I'd love to do some research. I don't know if they've ever talked about each other, but they're so similar and yet so incredibly different. And I don't know. I need to see more of both of them. I'm so excited.
Do we know where this film lies within Ken Loach's filmography? Is this like one of the first big ones he did? Or?
Apparently, it's his second feature film.
Second feature, okay.
Which is insane. Yeah, strong. And this is out of a career, as I said, that is continuing to this day. I didn't know Ken Loach was a fictional feature filmmaker. Everything I've heard about Ken Loach has been to do with his documentaries, which I can only imagine now must be as stunning as his fictional films. Because I'll be honest, guys, what's the difference in this movie? There is such a superficial line between fiction and documentary in what we're seeing, especially, Hannah, based on the stories you're telling us to get certain performances out of them. This is his style. And another thing I was saying to Carrie Ann as well is what I love about Ken Loach, and this is based on the other Ken Loach film I saw as well, which is, do you want me to re-say that, Steph? What I love about Ken Loach is with The Old Oak is that he's not a flashy filmmaker. He's not someone you watch his film and you go, oh, what a shot that was, or in his compositions or his framing. No, it's very almost guerrilla style, point and shoot, and he just captures what's in front of him. I was looking at this. Where is it? Barnsley? This is filmed in Yorkshire. I was looking at the location and I'm like, this is not set design. This is not a production design. This is just, he's rocked up to this place and he's just pointed the camera. Nothing is really dressed up here, and I think that's such I love that about him.
It's crazy that Ken Loach was born in 1936 and his last film was in 2023.
Is he still alive?
That's 87.
Yeah.
He's still making movies.
Damn.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still
Wow.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I would love to see more of his work. Maybe we will see more of his work together. That would be really neat. He hasn't really been recognized internationally. He's been recognized at Cannes, but in the US, fucking forget it. Like Golden Globes, Oscars, no recognition. It's the BAFTAs that have recognized him. He won the BAFTA for best British film of the year, specific category, for I, Daniel Blake. I'd love to see it. I've heard all about it, haven't seen it. He's been nominated and won BAFTAs in very different categories, like individual career BAFTAs. Nothing for any specific film. Do you know what I mean? Or TV series. But I think this film was it was nominated for BAFTAs. It never got any recognition overseas, which is such a shame. The young actor
Doesn't surprise
David...
me though. It really doesn't surprise me. Like I mean, I can't. Obviously, I'm going to speak for all Americans, but like, I find it hard to see the appetite for this kind of film, and even like Ken Loach filmography in general, like across the pond, because it paints such a broken picture of, I feel like, the UK compared to the image that maybe the US has. I don't know what you think about that, Hannah.
It makes me think of, I mean, here, how many incredible creators did we lose in the 60s, 70s, 80s due to the Red Scare? I mean, Disney turning in half, if not more, of his staff for potentially being communists. We don't platform like extreme social revolutionary change because it's not profitable. It is not commercial. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I can think of, and that goes for even Loach's home country. That's probably, I mean, BAFTAs aside, I think it's difficult for the industry because of how it was conceived and how it continues to fight to survive. It's off of this commercialized thing. I know there are a lot of amazing culture critics who really dive into this, and what are we left with? Where does the content end, and where does the art begin, or where does it find a place to keep living? But I'm reading, when you guys mentioned I, Daniel Blake, I'm like, phenomenal premise for a film, incredibly powerful, easy to understand why they won't push it to the front lines. And I think that's what makes it that much more of an important piece for us to go into.
I guess as well, like a big reason Kes is, well, I know we mentioned it already, a big reason it's so probably well known in the UK is because it did, or at least the novel A Kestrel for a Knave did become part of like the English curriculum. I think prior to 2000 mainly, because I think my parents, they both studied it at school, but I don't really know anyone recently who studied it. And then obviously, if the book is part of it, it's probably inevitable that they ended up watching it in school at the same time.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I think maybe it's only lately that I've noticed a shift, but the Oscars and the Globes are so good at recognizing, for the most part, international movies, especially movies that have a real socialist bent to them, like Bong Joon-ho movies, and I just think that it's a shame that even in even in our current time, Loach isn't really being recognized even today. And yet the funny thing is, I read about Loach from American film critics. So, I suppose it's about people who just know their shit. Yeah. you know.
I just think we just have a lot of people. We got a lot of land.
Yeah.
It might just outnumber you. So I don't want to, tamp down the UK people.
Well, I'm surprised, actually. The guy who played the teacher, Colin Welland, he won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, which... very cool. I didn't know that. And David Bradley, the kid who plays Billy, won Best Newcomer. Again, he was not an actor; he was a non-professional, but he won the BAFTA, and deservedly so, because incredible.
Such a short role, the teacher.
Very short role, but you know what? I can kind of see it, as someone who just comes in and makes such a big impression. But I'll be honest, fine, he walked away with the award. You could have given that award to the mother. You could have given that award to the brother who plays Judd. I mean, everyone who came in, give it to the fucking school teacher. I mean, everyone who came in was so, I'm talking about the sports teacher. Everyone was so effective in their roles. They made such an impression in such a short amount of time. They all could have walked away with the award for me.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Any other thoughts on Kess, folks?
No.
We've covered a lot.
We've picked it apart pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. I'm pleased that we've landed
Curious
on...
for ratings.
Very curious for ratings. In fact, I don't want to go first.
I will just say one thing before we move on to ratings.
Please.
Because I can't not speak about the music.
The music.
Give it a quick nod. The music in the film. It's just, I found it funny because every time that like flute or recorder would come in, it would just be when he's running around in the field. And I was like, every time we cut to him running, it's just like a quick little melody with the flute. And there's not much around it. Huh?
That was like the score. It was just like the same little motif every now and then.
Yeah. It fit. It actually fit really well. I might listen to it.
Yeah.
In isolation.
Yeah, it was quite nice. And yet there was something I didn't like about the very ending when he was running around looking for Kess. There was something off about the score. Maybe that was intentional. So it was meant to be this very weird, the notes are off. Maybe that's representing his emotional state. John Cameron is the composer. He was nominated for an Oscar for one movie, and that's a movie called A Touch of Class from 1973, directed by Melvin Frank, starring George Segal. Paul Sorvino is in the movie. Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas. He's one of the mob bosses. Never heard of it. But yeah, Oscar-nominated composer. The funny thing is, the rest of his career, he didn't compose anything that you would recognize. However, he's more recognizable as someone who just worked on the soundtrack for a lot of films. So as a composer, not outside of being an Oscar nominee, not very recognizable, but he has a song in Jackass Forever. He has a song in Dude, Where's My Car? Of all fucking films, he has a song in uncredited in the TV show Seinfeld. He has an uncredited song in The Simpsons. He has a song in what's that David Fincher movie? Oh, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's listed as an arranger for a song. So it looks as if after he's composed, he's kept himself in the music industry as like an additional hand at helping with things, which is added to his credits, which I think is quite fascinating, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
But
cool.
Yeah, still around doing bits and bobs.
He's still around.
Composing, yeah.
He's still around, yeah. So Jackass Forever was 2022, and that's his last credit. Yeah. He's born in 1944. Fucking hell. He even had a hand in Les Miserables on stage. This guy's like...
Damn.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so shall we do ratings? I'm not going to go first because I thought I had a rating, but now this conversation has kind of thrown me off course.
I can go first because I think mine's pretty obvious. I think
okay. 5.
This is definitely a 5-star film for me. I just don't think it can be faulted in any way.
Okay, I figured that's what was coming from you.
So
that's fine.
Aren't I?
For his own pick.
Yeah, I knew it. Steph, what about you?
I think after I finished the film, I would give it a 4. And then from this conversation, I'd give it a 4.5. Yeah.
I have a feeling Chris is the same.
I hear you, Steph. I feel you. Hannah?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, for me, a five. Also, I feel like I wonder if it's useful for anybody who like listens in there, just for us who share, like what fives mean to us, because sometimes it's not
Yeah,
like it's like not like an airtight film, but there's so many other factors besides what do we see on the screen. Some of it comes from the
yeah,
conversations for
Mm.
sure. But yeah, a five for me.
yeah. Well, I was a 4.5 because I was like,
Oh.
what stops this film from being a five? You know, like you're saying, Hannah, what defines a five? Like when we have Zaylen on here, Zaylen is very specific about what makes a five. He'll be like, it's 4.75, you know, and I love that. I love how he knows very, very specifically what a five movie is for him. Usually, it needs to move me in some way. I'd say that much. It needs to move me. But I think this conversation has it's pushed it all the way. That's what I love about this whole thing. Like you said earlier, Hannah.
But
Sometimes
are you
it's the
saying the
group.
film didn't move you when you watched it?
No, no, yes, no. It did. It did, but it didn't physically move. Like sometimes I burst into tears. It didn't. It didn't do that for me. I could recognize how tragic and sad it is, or how funny it is. It didn't move me in that way. So that's why I was like, it's just beneath the five for me. And it would remain that way if not for the group discussion. So yeah, I
Interesting.
love
The only
talking
reason I've
about
not
this
given it a
movie.
five is say again. Say again. What did you say?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it. Mine was when you at the beginning of the conversation when you guys were like, this is a hitter. This is like, Denis Villeneuve's Incendies, like the feeling you get from that. I was like, oh shit, I'm on a boat here by myself because I wasn't emotionally even at the end. Like it didn't hit me. I had like good. The only emotionally moved like had laughing because I found some of the lines funny and how the boys are behaving, but I didn't really get like I didn't feel anything at the end there.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me. Like for me, I wasn't like sobbing, but it was. I was definitely
Welling
emotionally
up.
moved by the move. Like, no, not even like necessarily just like crying or sad. It's just it makes you feel a bit empty. This film, like,
It's so hard to define that infinitesimal thing. Yeah, because I think I agree with Stefan in that no, actually, Luke, I was moved, but I wasn't moved. How do I explain
you
that? You know what I
expecting
mean?
something a bit more visceral, like a bit more of a visceral response.
Yeah, maybe it's the score. Maybe if the score was a little more, I don't know. I don't know. But I was moved. Or even outside of that, I can step back and say this is remarkable, and that alone is enough to talk it out with you for an hour and 40 minutes. If I didn't do that, the movie wouldn't be a 5. It would be a 4.5, and now I have to fucking put it in my Amazon basket. So that's okay.
Criterion, I'm assuming.
Huh?
As in a Criterion would have
Oh,
released this.
Criterion. Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, I would assume
Oh.
so. So, wow. Great. Everyone a 5 except for Stefan, but that's okay. That's 4.5. That is highly rated. Great pick, Luke. Thank you for sharing this movie
Thank
with
you.
us. What a pick.
Glad you enjoyed it.
So glad I saw it, and now Loach is on my radar. Like I'm receptive to him now.
Same.
So cool. So next up is Stefan, followed by Hannah. So Hannah, you can think for next time, and yeah, Steph, you have the next pick. So what have you got for us, sir?
Getting on this call, I forgot that it was my pick. So, but I have got one.
Oh no way.
This is a film released 12 years before Kes, and this is I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but usually I throw things in I haven't seen. So it's called 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sick.
Has everyone seen it?
Yeah.
Nope. You've seen it, Luke.
Oh.
Sidney Lumet's.
Oh, Sidney Lumet,
Sidney.
Henry Fonda. I've heard all about it. Have you seen it, Hannah?
No, I've heard about it as well. Is it based off a book or like a stage play or neither?
It must be a stage play. It's literally one room.
It's the jury. Is it the jury people?
Yeah. Oh, good
Deliberate.
pick, Stefan. Good pick.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'm going in blind. I know
I'm
nothing about it.
Okay.
All
Ooh,
right,
amazing!
fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic. Okay, can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. All right, folks. So then I will see you then.
Great. Thank you.
Hopefully we won't
Thank
be
you so much.
hopefully, wait, hold on, wait, before we go. Let me just get the words in my head. Hopefully we won't be 3 angry men and 1 angry woman when we come back on the call, eh?
He only chose the movie so he could
Yeah.
say the joke.
I love you guys.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. All right.
I love it here.
Thank you all for joining me today. Such a pleasure, honestly. And yeah,
Thank you,
can't wait for
guys.
it. Can't wait for the next one. I hope to see you then. Until then, this is the Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club, and we hope you enjoyed listening. Happy watching, and bye for now.